there, Ariana from Crafting Happiness here. In today's tutorial I'm going to show you how to crochet the crocodile stitch made for thick yarns. And for this tutorial I've made two samples, one in one color so you can see the texture and how it looks like, and the other sample is in multiple colors so you can see how the tiles look like when made in different colors. And this sample, on this sample I've changed colors every 2 rows, and I carry the yarn along the side like this, and this is how it looks like. With this modified crocodile stitch for thicker yarns, as you can see, the tiles will lay flat, and it will also, your blanket won't weigh a ton, and you also won't use a lot of yarn. So let's get started. For this tutorial I am using super bulky yarn in yellow and a 10mm crochet hook, and this pattern requires you to make multiples of 6 chains plus 3. In my starting chain I have 27. So let's start with row 1, and we will make 2 trebles in the 7th chain from the hook. So from the hook, start counting backwards to the 7th chain, and in that 7th chain make 2 trebles. So yarn over twice, insert your hook and pull up a loop, and then yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and again yarn over, pull through 2, and that is 1 treble. We will make another one into the same chain like this. Now we will chain 1, skip 2 chains, and into the 3rd one we make again 2 trebles. So again, yarn over twice and make your treble, and the 2nd one into the same chain, and this is your repeat section. Chain 1, skip 2 chains and make 2 trebles into the 3rd chain, and repeat that along your chain until you have 2 chains left. And at the end, skip 1 chain and then make 1 more treble into the last chain. And this is your first row. And now we continue with the 2nd row. Chain 1, doesn't count as a stitch, and turn and make a single crochet into the 1st stitch. Now on this row we will create the leaves. What they are, like, I call them leaves, you can call them scales, whatever you want to call them. We will create them on this row, and we will use this lattice to make them. So to do that you have to turn your work with the right side up and turn it vertically so we can work around this post, and we will work each leaf around a cluster. So you will never crochet a leaf around 2 posts from different clusters. It will always be around 1 cluster at a time. So let me show you how to make your first leaf. We will work around the first post first, make the first half by making a double crochet inside around that post, then a chain 1, and we repeat this 2 more times around the same post. So another double crochet, and then chain 1, another double crochet, and chain 1, and then at the end we make another double crochet. So you in total will have to have 4 double crochet separated by a chain. And now we will make the tip of the leaf with a picot, and to do that we chain 3 and slip stitch in the base stitch. So not in the base chain, not in that chain, but into the base stitch. And to do that, insert your hook in the middle of the stitch, pick up that loop, and then pick up the loop next to it, like so, and slip stitch. And this is the tip, your picot stitch. Now we will continue with the second half of the leaf. Turn your work around, still vertical, but with the half a leaf pointing towards you, and we will work around the second cluster, the second treble of the cluster, and we'll make the same stitches, 4 double crochet separated by a chain. And it helps if you bend your work just to expose that post. All right, so let's continue. Double crochet, then chain 1, another double crochet into that, around that post, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, and our last double crochet. And this is what it looks like. And this is your completed leaf or scale, whatever you want to call it. So there are 2 steps to making a leaf. We first make it, and then into the next cluster we attach it to the lattice. So to do that, turn your work again with the wrong side towards you, and make a slip stitch inside the next cluster. And this is your first leaf. And the reason I made this pattern, I modified it for thicker yarns, is because if you do the regular crocodile stitch, your work will be so heavy and you'll use so much more yarn, and your leaves will start to curl in because it doesn't have the chains that make it looser and it gives it stretch. So that's why I made these chains in between the posts, and I also made less double crochet stitches so you won't curl in. With this pattern, when you work with thicker yarns, it will look, the leaves will stay flat like this. So now this is your repeat section for this row. You make a leaf, and then in around the next cluster, and then a slip stitch into the next cluster, and then again a leaf into the next cluster, slip stitch into next, and repeat this until you have 1 cluster and 1 treble left. So when you have this part left to do, you stop with the repeats. So now when you have reached the end of the row, around that last lattice make another leaf, but this time we won't be attaching it to the lattice with a slip stitch. That's the only difference. So let's make our last leaf quickly. Double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and then a picot stitch, chain 3, slip stitch in the bottom stitch, turn your work around, and around the next post again double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, and double crochet. So like I said, this time we won't be slip stitching to attach the leaf to the lattice. Instead we are going to make a single crochet at the top of that chain 7 you have skipped at the beginning, and we're gonna make a single crochet, and this is your second row. And you can see how the leaves are flat and they're not curling up, and you will use less yarn and you'll be less heavy. And this is how it looks like from the back. Now we'll continue with the third row, which is another lattice row. We will make another lattice on top of the leaves. And to do that, we first start, we turn and we make a chain 5, and this counts as a treble plus a chain. Now we will be continuing, we will be crocheting inside the clusters like we did with the leaves. And into the next cluster, you can look at the back, see, make sure you're not skipping any, but this is the first cluster. We make 2 trebles. So that's 1 treble, yarn over twice and make another treble. Now we are going to chain 2 and make 2 trebles into the next cluster below. Now the next cluster below is this one here where you slip stitch. So make sure you're not skipping and doing it into the next leaf. It's actually right behind here where you slip stitch. Make 2 trebles in there. That's one, and the second one, and this is your repeat section right here. You chain 2 and then make 2 trebles into the next cluster, and repeat this until you have made trebles into the last cluster of the row, which is gonna be inside one of these leaves. And this is what we have so far. This is the new lattice above, and now we have made these 2 trebles into the last cluster. We will make a treble into the first single crochet that we made at the beginning of round 2. So chain 1 and find the single crochet. If you're not sure, turn around and see where you've made the single crochet. That's the loop for the single crochet. It also helps if you use a stitch marker, but find that single crochet below and make a treble inside it, like so. And this is your third row. And now we continue with the fourth one, and we will make another row of leaves. And to start the fourth row, chain 1 and turn, and we will single crochet into the first stitch right here. Now we will make leaves on this lattice, but the leaves will be offset, so the leaves will fall in between the leaves below, and it will create a better pattern than making them on top of each other. So to do that, after we made a single crochet, we chain 1 and then slip stitch, bring the yarn into the next cluster with a slip stitch, like so. And now we turn our work with the right side facing us and vertical on the table, and we will make the leaf around this cluster right here, so in the clusters that fall in between the leaves below. And the pattern is basically the same, it's just offset. So let me show you. Make a leaf stitch, like I said, around that cluster, single double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and then chain 1 and a last double crochet, then a picot stitch, chain 3 and slip stitch in a base stitch. Now turn your work around, and around the next post right here, continue to make the leaf, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, and a final double crochet, and your leaf is complete. Now all you have to do is turn your work with the wrong side towards you and slip stitch inside the next cluster to attach the leaf to the lattice. And this is how it looks like, and you can see the leaf falling in between, and it covers the clusters below, like I said, flatter than the regular crocodile stitch. So now this is your repeat section. Make a leaf and then slip stitch into the next, and repeat this until you have slip stitch into the last cluster. Now when you have slip stitch at the end in the last cluster, chain 1 and single crochet at the top of chain 5 you have made. Make a single crochet, and this is your 4th row, and you can see how the leaves are offset and they fall in between. Now we have this exposed post here, but they will be covered by the next row of leaves. So always remember to finish your work with a row where the leaves start right at the beginning. Now we will continue with the 5th row, and this is where we left off. Now turn and chain 5, and this counts as a treble plus 1 chain. Now make 2 trebles into the next cluster, yarn over twice and make your treble, and again yarn over twice, make your treble into the same space like this, and then chain 2 and make another 2 trebles into the next cluster. This is your repeat section for this row. You chain 2 and then make a cluster into the next cluster below, and repeat this until you have crocheted into the last cluster, which is this one. At the end, when you have crocheted into the last cluster, chain 1 and make a treble into the first single crochet you have crocheted at the beginning of row 4. So yarn over twice and make a treble like this, and this is your 5th row. We have created another lattice row onto which we're gonna make more leaves. Now our last 6th row we'll start with a chain 1 and turn, and again make a single crochet into the first stitch, and now we will start with a leaf. So we will not skip the first cluster like we did in a previous row. We will make the leaf here, so they will offset nicely against each other. So around the very first cluster we will make a leaf by making a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, and a final and 4th double crochet like this. Then a picot stitch by chaining 3 and slip stitching in the base stitch. Now turn your work around and make the second half of the leaf around the next post by making a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1 and double crochet, chain 1 and a 4th and final stitch, double crochet, and this is your first leaf. Into the next cluster we will slip stitch. So now we repeat this again along these clusters below. lift stitch, slip stitch, lift stitch, slip stitch, and then lift stitch. And once you have made a leaf into the last cluster, don't slip stitch. We will just finish the row. So now I have made a leaf into the last cluster right here. We only have left this chain 5 that counts as a treble and a chain, and instead of the slip stitch that we usually do, we will make a single crochet into the 4th chain right here, right at the top. So come from the bottom, 1, 2, 3 and 4, and make a single crochet. And this is our last row, row 6, and this is how it looks like. And from this point on, repeat rows 3 and to 6, and that includes lattice row and the leaves, lattice row and the leaves. These 4 rows, repeat them until you have the desired length to your project. So I hope this tutorial was easy to follow. If you have any questions about this pattern, feel free to ask me in the comments below, and I'll be more than happy to answer you. Happy crocheting!